Hello, my name is Glenn Riggs. Today's date is September the 7th, 2014, and we're just outside Bloomington, Indiana, and we will be doing this interview with Earl W. Riggs, my father, who will be sharing his experiences from World War II. Thank you. Please.
My name is Earl Warren Riggs.
All right. Where and when were you born?
9/7/1923.
And
Oak Park, Illinois.
who were your parents and what were their occupations?
My mother was just a mother. I had 4 brothers, and my father was managed a cab garage in the Chicago area with some 200 garages.
Did any of your brothers serve in the military?
No, my brothers didn't, but I had 4 brothers and 1 stepbrother, and he served in the military.
What were you doing before you entered the military service?
I worked in a hotel, the Oak Park Arms, and I did that after school and on the weekends, and I did very little else.
In which branch of the military did you serve?
I was in the Air Force.
Were you enlisted or were you drafted? Did you enlist?
I enlisted.
If you enlisted, then why did you choose this specific branch of the military?
Because I loved airplanes and I wanted to fly.
What happened when you departed for training camp and during your early days of training?
What happened? I don't know that anything out of the ordinary happened. I was went through the normal processing as an aviation cadet.
All right. Do you recall any of your instructors, and if so, what were they like?
I can't say that I really recall anything specific or outstanding about my instructors in the early training facet.
Did you receive any specialized training, and if so, what kind of training did you receive?
Well, I joined the Air Force, the Army Air Force at that time, and I went through a lot of qualification tests and was qualified to be a navigator or a pilot, and I chose the pilot training.
Where was all that located? What city?
The primary, well, of course, you have to go through cadet training, and that was in Montgomery, Alabama, at the air base there. And that made it a further determination whether you went as a pilot or as a navigator or elsewise assigned.
So where did you go after Montgomery?
I went to Avon Park, Florida for the primary training.
How did you adapt to military life, including the physical regime, the barracks, the food, the social life? How did you adapt to the life of military?
I adopted just as they suggested, and it was very, very interesting. And I was really more interested in the end result of going through pilot training.
All right, during wartime services, where did you serve?
Process of training, I didn't make pilot. I was eliminated and reassigned to just an aircrew member, but I was further assigned to the gunnery training, machine gun, turret gunning, and then to Scottsfield, Illinois, that had the training for a gunnery Air Force position, and then I went through two other flight schools, or first of all to a communications unit for training on the equipment to be used on the bombers.
What year was this that you were enlisted, and how old were you during that period of time? How old were you first when you enlisted, and what was the year?
I don't remember the year that I graduated from high school, but within 1 year is when I volunteered for the Army Air Force.
All right. When you served abroad, first of all, the locations where you served and some of the experience or memory you have of when you were abroad.
We actually, I was assigned to a crew with 5 other airmen who had various functions on the plane, and we flew a new airplane loaded down with lots of parts up into Canada, and then across the Atlantic to with one stop in Iceland, and then into a air base. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the air base, but from there we flew. Well, it was in England. We flew from to begin with, and that was before the invasion. And we had bombing missions along the French coast, and then Germany, and in France, and so on. Again, that was before the invasion. And after the invasion, we moved to an air base in France, located in Beauvais, France, and we then later, after the war progressed, we flew to, or we went to a base in Belgium. And at that time, the war was coming to an end. I flew 56 missions with the bomb group, and I don't know, I guess we've more or less moved. We moved one more time from Beauvais to a base in closer to the action in Belgium, and we finished up our missions there after after the invasion and so on. The base was closed down, and if you those people who had enough missions actually went by ship back to the United States. At that time, I had accounted for 56 missions, and I was close to being sent back a little earlier, but that's what was transported. I was then I was going to say pardon, but the idea was that I went back to St. Louis, Missouri, and area, and I was discharged from. I chose to leave the service, and they sent me to the base in the Chicago area. I forgot what the name of it was, and was processing through leaving the service. Late in the game, I decided I didn't want to go back because I didn't want to go out of the service. I wanted to go to Japan, and I was assigned to a base in California to begin training there. And fortunately, the war ended, but I was then sent back to Chicago by train, and I was discharged from the service.
What was the name of your bomb group, or the number of your bomb group?
It was the 322nd Medium Bomber Group, and I was with them on three different bases.
What were your duties in the bomb group? What were your duties on the airplane?
I was a radio operator, and also a navigator, where we used equipment called G equipment to navigate the bomber, and also during actual bombing runs, I was a waist gunner. That means two positions in the back of the bomber, and the bomber again, I now recall, was a B-26 bomber, and that was my function.
How did you feel during combat? How did you feel during the events themselves?
We were very carefully instructed on what we were supposed to do, and on each mission we were given the various instructions on what to do and how to react, and beyond that, perform the duties that we were assigned to.
How did you stay in touch with your family and friends back home during the war?
By mail only.
What kind of relationships and friendships did you make or form while serving, and with whom?
What kind of relationship? The other five members of my crew were had a fairly tight relationship during the war, and after the war we had meetings of the total group that I was assigned to, and we met in various parts of the country to further our past relationships during wartime.
Where were you when the war ended itself?
I was on the train back to the St. Louis area, and I had several people assigned to help them with their problems in going back to the St. Louis area. And the war ended while I was on the train.
When you returned back to Chicago Oak Park, how were you received by your family and by the communities?
There was no special welcome back and so on. There were a lot of people in the same category. They just went home, and since I had already finished high school, I was very interested in going to college, and since I was discharged in May of that year, which I don't remember specifically the year, I had 4.5 years of service, and I then started at the University of Illinois in April or May of 1945.
What was your highest rank?
I was a tech sergeant, 5 stripes.
This is a broad question because it is quite a few years later in terms of since you've separated from the military. Can you summarize what you've been doing for the last 50 years? That's a little bit of an unusual question here.
Take your
Doing a
shirt
little
off.
bit of everything. Well, of course, I went to the University of Illinois and
70
graduated in 1949. And my first job after school was with one of the things that I did was one of my brothers decided he wanted to start a business of installing and processing upholstery for automobiles. Because I had the government service, I had a special allotment. Now this goes back to just shortly after my retirement from the service, that I worked with him for a short period of time because I was able to get the priority assignment and so on. The business that we started still is in existence today and has provided a living for a number of the Riggs family. Let's see. Then when I graduated from the University of Illinois again, the next job that I had was with the United Airlines, and I did a little bit of my education preparation there, and I wanted to be assigned a more demanding position, and they told me I would have to move to Seattle, Washington, and I decided I didn't want to go to Seattle, and I decided to look for another job. And I found a job with a company called Omite that manufactured passive type components for general sale, and that was resistors, tap switches, relays, and things of that nature. I worked over 6 years with them, and then I decided, since I was now married, to go to, well, of course, I was living in Oak Park initially, and then we moved to Hinsdale, California, no, Hinsdale, Illinois, and I decided I would like to have my own home, and I was married with 2 children, and so we moved or we were in Hinsdale, and I decided to build further a house in Hinsdale. We did complete a house from scratch. In the meantime, I was working for a company in Evanston, Illinois, that manufactured semiconductor devices, and so I moved to that company, and I had an engineering position for designing and building equipment, designing new electrical components, and I worked there about 6 years, and the company decided to move to California, and I decided I didn't want to go to California again, so I looked around a little bit, but I'd made a number of contacts in the manufacturing area of electrical components, and I found that there was a opportunity in Bloomington, Indiana, at a company that was owned and managed by Sarkis Tarzian, and I became the chief engineer for new products, and worked there some 15 years until I retired. Oh, no, I didn't retire at that time. I then went to work when I didn't feel the company was going to progress, so I was hired by the oh boy.
NAD Crane?
Huh?
The NAD Crane?
Yeah, at the Naval Ordnance Base at Crane as an engineer, and to set up a laboratory for designing and testing the components that were used by the Navy. And in that position, I supervised engineering people in 5 different locations across the country, and I worked there some 26 years, and then I retired.
Just kind of recapping too, then on the military service, as far as your Army Air Force and Master Sergeant, not Master Sergeant, Technical Sergeant.
Yeah.
Specific locations included England, France, where else?
Belgium.
Belgium, okay. Are there specific names of campaigns that you were involved in or battles?
Well, I flew 56 missions, and I over the time period, but now you're not recording this, or you are?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. It's hard to say. We with the 56 missions, we actually flew more than that on special missions that were non-bombing missions, and I don't know what else. What
Okay.
else?
Were there any specific medals or service awards you received?
Let's see. After the war, I was forgot.
Well, some of that we can look up here.
Let's see. 56 divided by 6. I was awarded 8 medals for missions, and after the war, I applied for 2 more that weren't included in the originals. So I guess I got a total of 8 missions, or 8 air medals, so on, and ribbons for each one of the bases that I served on. And
did you sustain any service-related injuries?
no, I never received anything. Our plane was hit a number of times, but it didn't result in any flight that I was on, in anyone being shot or injured.
How has your military service and all the war activity impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
It's a tough one.
I had a great deal of respect for the way they train people, and generally how they treated people. That is applicable to the Air Force. Beyond that, I don't know anything.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear this message? This interview. What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear this interview?
I think that it was an honor and a very instructive relationship that I had with the service in the Air Force.
Is there anything we didn't discuss or you'd like to add to this interview?
I think it prepared me more for the type of work that I wanted to do in manufacturing and on the engineering side of semiconductor development.
Okay, thank you. Say goodbye.
Boy, now I hope I can edit that. I can change. We had annual meetings in various parts of the country. What I did was I looked up at and became a research person, non-gratuity oriented, to study and research the missions that we flew and the personnel and some of the things that happened to us by virtue of the records that were kept by the Montgomery Air Force group, and I was a research person. I generated six actually, counting the base. I generated 6 documents, which I subsequently put together and circulated amongst the people that served with me. I never met a grandma. It was after the war, and it was. Well, I don't know. Where did we first meet? We lived in Oak Park, Illinois, and she lived about 2 streets away, and we became acquainted. One of my very close boyfriend neighbors, Jack Madigan.
Was good. I could.
We married sisters. So that was about it.
That's pretty good.
That was while I was going back and forth to the University of Illinois, because I would come home for the summer and I would take more courses if they were available in the summer, just to be able to graduate within 4 years. So that was, where did I meet her? I don't know. Why did I meet her? I don't know.
Anyway, it was interesting.
But if I didn't meet her, you wouldn't be here.
I'm glad you did. Well, and where were you in the line of the brothers? Are you the youngest?
I was the youngest
Okay.
of 4.
What were all their names?
Harold, Walter, and Frederick,
Fritz.
which was Fritz.
And then Tony.
He became.
And then Tony was a stepbrother.
Mm-hmm.
My father remarried after my mother died, and Tony came to live with us. I was. Wait a second. How does that work?
Tony's your stepbrother.
I was about 6 years old, so all during this war thing, I was in the service and Tony was in the service, but I was 6 and he was 4 when they were married.
And who had the upholstery? Which brother had the upholstery business? The car upholstery?
That was my brother Walter, and he had the auto cover business, and then some years later, he moved to California, and my oldest brother, Harold, eventually acquired the business and carried it on, and so on. So
This was
that's the story of my life.